Armchair commanders, we call the shots. From our living room thrones where the action's hot. We're the generals of fiction, the masters of war. In silver screen battles with buttered popcorn. Armchair commanders, armchair commanders.
All right, welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John.
And I'm Jack.
The last Jackarai.
The last Jackarai. And first.
And this week, we are reviewing Tom Cruise classic, The Last Samurai.
And what a movie it is.
You had it, was this your first watching of it?
Yes.
So, I guess my first question for you was, what were you expecting going into it?
Well, Dances with Wolves, but Japanese.
Okay. And now that you've seen it, do you still think that that's the case?
Kind of, yeah. White guy goes native.
Okay. As I alluded to on our last episode, I have strong feelings about this.
Oh yeah.
Yes, so just to make my bias clear right off the bat, I love this movie. This is probably one of my top 10 war movies of all time, like my personal top 10. So when I go into my explanation of this, like I'm straightforward, like obviously I have a positive bias towards this film. I understand the correlations that people make of this to Dances with Wolves. There are absolutely thematic elements that line up with that particular film. That being said, I don't believe that this film is a Dances with Wolves ripoff, or as you know, you joked last week, Dances with Weebs.
Yep. That's
and
another before we continue, another nickname I saw online for this was The Last Samurai, the first weeaboo.
That is a good one. So here's the John thesis on why this isn't Dances with Wolves. Dances with Wolves and films that generally follow the Dances with Wolves theme, yes, takes the element of standard white guy involving themselves in a native-like community, whether that's the Sioux or the Blue people in Avatar, or if we want to make the comparison, Tom Cruise with the samurai.
Or Lawrence in Arabia.
Well, that was another point I was going to make, is like, is it really a Dances with Wolves ripoff if Dances with Wolves is a Lawrence of Arabia ripoff?
I can see it taking more inspiration from Dances with Wolves. In fact, there's an entire part about how much he loves killing natives.
Except he doesn't. Like, the whole point of this film is the fact that he struggles with the inner demons of, you know, the atrocities he committed on the American West. And that going to Japan is more or less a redemption arc for him. Except it isn't. He doesn't actually ever redeem himself. The difference between this film and those other films that take the dude integrates into a native-like community is the fact that those movies follow the white savior model, which is these are great, amazing warriors, but they're technologically or numbers wise outclassed, and only by having, you know, uh, the fuck was the guy's name in Dance with Wolves? The actor's name. I'm blanking on it right now.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, Kevin Costner. You need Kevin Costner to come in and essentially only by his intervention will the group be able, because that's the point of Dances with Wolves is he becomes a part of their society, he becomes appreciative of it, and then at the end when the military comes in to wipe them out is because of his intervention that they're able to escape and live their life for a few more years before the end card says that they ultimately lost. Same way in Avatar, where you know humans are going to go destroy the tree of everything
To
in
get
Pandora.
unobtainium.
Yeah, and the Navi, the blue people, are causing all these problems, but like they're not fully winning. But as soon as the white dude turns himself into a blue person and joins their society, then they can have this massive winning victory. In The Last Samurai, that never occurs. Tom Cruise's character, Algren, is more or less just an observer. He's an observer in essentially futility. Because, yes, he becomes ingrained in the samurai culture. Yes, he takes a participatory role in the battles and in their actions. But at the end of the day, nothing that Tom Cruise's character does changes the outcome. Whether Tom Cruise is in that battle or not, the samurai are destined to lose in this film. And even with his involvement, they still lose. Like they all get wiped out. Like that's the big push of this film. Or the bigger overarching thing, and we can talk about it when we get to talking about the end battle scene. But it's really an overarching story of the march of progress or westernization against traditional values of that society. So I have beef when people say this is Dances with Wolves when yes, we have a character who takes that observer, like becomes enamored with the culture role, but ultimately their actions have no impact to the greater overarching story. And that's why I love this film so much, is because we get to see this conflict, we get to explore these sides, but it appears to be a white savior film, but it isn't, because nobody is saved.
Yeah, he does die in the end, doesn't he? Or no, he doesn't, does he?
No, so that's the thing is Tom Cruise's character, Algren, Captain Algren, going back to the original statement, he is haunted by the atrocities that he helped commit in the American West against Native Americans. And, when he's doing his little journal entry narrations, he's like, I've been hired by Japan to put down their, Native rebellion because that apparently is the only thing I'm good at. Like, there's self hatred and loathing in there. And there are plenty of instances in this film where he shows an absolute disregard for his own life. Like he doesn't care if he dies. Like in going into that end battle scene, there's definitely the expectation or the belief that he thinks he's going to die with them. So like at the end, not only does he not save anybody, or he doesn't save this people that he has fallen in love with, but he survives and he has to live with that trauma on top of it. So, that is my thesis as to why The Last Samurai is not Dances with Weebs. It is not a white savior film.
And I did
Do
some
I
research.
do I have a
Go ahead.
rebuttal for my thesis?
Eh, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I still think it's very, very similar. But
I'm not denying that there's similarities in thematic elements, but I think it takes a different enough approach that it's not the same.
I also did some research on this, and apparently the broad Japanese consensus is no, it's not historically accurate, but who gives a shit? It was a fun movie.
It's
It was
their
one of,
300.
wouldn't say it's their 300, but it's definitely one of the top grossing foreign films of all time in Japan.
Well,
They
I mean, it definitely makes sense because it hark it's basic. It basically harkens to a major part of their self identity.
that and Ken Watanabe,
Yes, Ken Watanabe, excellent actor. I wish he was in
very
more
excellent.
films.
Was he in Letters from Iwo Jima?
Yeah, he plays General Kurabayashi in Letters from
Uh,
Iwo Jima. That was a stellar performance in that movie as well.
Great movie. Great movie too.
So, aside from your initial impressions of it being Dances with Weebs, what did you think of this film?
You know, I not a huge fan of Tom Cruise, but he has his moments. This was no Top Gun or even Top Gun 2.
Highway to the
The
sushi
danger.
zone.
I was really waiting for Ken Watanabe to say, "You're dangerous, Monsieur. You
We're
guys are
probably going to get
dangerous."
canceled for attempting to do Japanese impressions.
Yeah, probably. If I haven't gotten us canceled yet.
But it can't be any worse than the Irish sergeant that they had in this film, which I gotta say, that is something that I love. Like, that is one trope from basically Civil War era time frame films, is that we're in Japan and yet we still have a fucking Irish sergeant. Like, fuck yeah.
This is your right. This. All right. I guess that guy was more Scottish, wasn't he?
I think he was Irish, but
This is
yeah,
your
like,
right. This is your left. This is your front. This is your back.
I love, he just starts yelling at him and everybody falls into formation. He's like, oh, we all speak a common language.
And I was sick for like the last part. This is Glory, by the way. I was sick for the last part of Glory, so I still don't know how it ends, other than they all die. But that's the one thing that I remember most about that movie is that guy screaming, "This is your right. This is your left. This is your front. This is your back."
I was very disappointed when the Irishman died in our first battle scene.
I mean, there were only so many ways his story was going to end.
Well, yeah, he was definitely going to die regardless, but at
Man,
least he like died early on and wasn't put in the position to be like an opponent to Tom Cruise.
I feel really bad for that one guy that Tom Cruise killed with the banner when he was feigning death,
Oh yeah.
because they gave him that dude's old shit, and his comrades, presumably his friends, warmed up fairly quickly to Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise even kissed his widow. That's just, that's just unfortunate, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, but I think it really speaks to the overarching story of like how much work Algren had to do as a character to be accepted by this society.
Man,
Because like I told you when we were watching that because we watched this together via our Discord, which if you're not a part of our Discord, go join the Armchair Commanders Discord. Um, and one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when it's early on after he's been taken prisoner. Basically, post battle, everybody gets fucking annihilated except for the people who run away, and then Algren gets captured, and he has to spend the winter with the samurai. And going into winter, what like before it becomes snow, there's like this super heavy raining scene, and the kid samurai who are just playing around with these wooden swords, um, are doing what kids do. They are playing with swords, as all of our childhoods did. I don't know about you, but
Swords, guns is very versatile.
yeah,
Wands when Harry Potter was popular.
I remember my first samurai sword.
Yeah.
Um, but he is watching these kids and ends up getting one of these wooden sticks, and he starts playing with the kids, doing this fake sword fight. And then like one of the actual samurai, like grown up samurai, come up and like with actual utter contempt challenges him to a sparring match with these wooden swords, and he just gets the ever loving shit beat out of him. Like it's super powerful scene. Like it I mean, the whole movie is scored excellently, but that particular scene also had excellent music to it. Um, but that's the start of this culture starting to respect him, because like these samurai who give zero shits about him and beat the fuck out of him just for the kicks and giggles of it, like see the fact that he's refusing to get up, and it's just like basically has to be knocked unconscious before he stops. Like that is our first little like they start to respect him a little more than they originally were. Because everybody, like, if you remember at the beginning, they're like, why the fuck don't we just kill him or make him kill himself? And Ken Watanabe's character is like, which is very progressive for the 1860s, 70s. He's like, well, that's not their tradition, so I'm not going to make him do it.
Very progressive.
Yeah. We got people today who can't even understand that fucking concept. What? What did you think of the rain beatdown scene?
Man, I really want to know what started that trend of a dramatic training scene in the rain that involves pain and gain.
Pain and gain.
A scene in which they train in the rain for and involves pain but with gain. Yeah, like I mean we've all thought about it, right? Beating the crap out of Tom Cruise, and this
Oh
just
yeah, we all have.
yeah,
Him and his
everybody.
stupid middle tooth.
It's just a common uniting thread among mankind. Need to beat up Tom Cruise.
I read a review once of this film that described it as this is one of the few films where you can momentarily forget that Tom Cruise is in it.
I don't know about that. I was kind of reminded of that.
Well, it's just he's definitely not playing a character he really plays anywhere else. Like when you think about Top Gun or like Mission Impossible, it's always like super confident, like sure of themselves type characters. So like PTSD alcoholic is a little bit of a different track for him.
Man, I guess he's branching out a bit by that. So, I also have to bring up, did you notice the extra getting rocked in the nuts by the horse?
No, but please elaborate. I was too
So,
busy being like, fuck yeah, swords.
in the run up to the final battle, when Ken and our heroes go to the little parlay meeting, doesn't go as well as they'd hoped, but goes about as well as they'd expected. So they're riding back to their army, and Nathan gets off his horse and like hands the reins to one of them, and in the background you see his horse just kick out a leg and hit an extra in the nuts,
Oh
and
shit!
the extra stays in character. He like plays it off but backs up a bit.
I hope he got paid extra that day.
Me too, and that was kept in the final cut of the film. I'll send you the video later. It's quite hilarious.
So, what was your favorite scene in this
Horse
movie?
nuts.
Besides horse nuts, what
Sword
is
spear.
sword spear? We're going to take a samurai sword and huck it like a fucking spear.
You know, it's ridiculous, yes, but that's the last thing you'd expect them to do, right? Or at least down there on the list. And it worked, so if it looks stupid and works, it ain't stupid.
Yeah, well,
But there's a caveat to that. A lot of people get this saying wrong. They say if it's stupid but works, it ain't stupid. I say if it looks stupid and works, it ain't stupid. But if it is stupid but works, you're lucky and stupid.
I was going to say, just because it works doesn't mean it's not stupid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But if it is stupid and you pull it off, you did that through luck, and you're an idiot for relying on luck.
Well, it's like that one episode of King of the Hill where where Hank and Bobby and crew sneak into like a famous athlete's like private box at a Texas game,
Oh, yeah.
and like the field calls this box because they're expecting this famous athlete to be there, and they're asking for like advice, and Hank pretends to be him and just gives them like the most asinine play.
And it works.
Yeah, well, initially like it's like, what are you talking about? That's so ridiculous. He's like, it's not ridiculous. They'll never expect it. He's like, yeah, they'll never expect it. It's because it's fucking stupid.
Which, well, like, do you remember the discussion amongst them leading up to that? Because that seems like a very un-Hank like thing to do, right? It's been a
Well,
while since I've seen that episode.
it was it was definitely a on the fly move.
But yeah, but doesn't that seem like something Hank would disavow? Like, no, that's dishonest, I tell you what.
It's never wrong to help Texas.
Right, I think that is how he rationalizes it. Dad, is it normal not to want to feel alive anymore? No, Bobby, that's normal.
I feel that way every day.
Aha, me too. Haha.
Speaking
Humor.
of unaliving, what'd you think of our Sudoku scene?
Good, but I really wish they went more R-rated with it and not have the tree censor it.
Oh, like actual decapitation.
Yes.
For our listeners at home, there's a seppuku scene, which, if you're not familiar with it, is the ritualistic method of suicide that samurai would practice after a defeat, where you essentially stab yourself and then a buddy of yours will cut your head off. That
And
way you
and
can keep your honor
and
intact.
and seppuku is properly committed with two people. Like you said, one guy gutting himself and another cuts the body's head off. However, they're supposed to then dash it against the rocks so the enemy can't use it as a trophy.
Yeah, where's that in this movie? The bringing the heads for a fucking bounty.
Yeah, I wanted to see more head dashing against rocks.
I'm interested in the fact that, the seppuku scene we get this moment where Cruz is doing the training montage with this army, and the head Japanese general that he's advising is telling him all about Katsumoto, or Ken Watanabe's character. And he's like, how does he know so much about this guy? He's like, oh, well, they fought alongside each other. He's like, you fought with the samurai? He's like, no, he is samurai. And I'm curious, like, granted, like feudal Japan or feudal esque, because this is a transitionary period from feudal to modernized, but, or that's what it's supposed to be depicting. But, like, I'm curious what kind of mental gymnastics you have to do in order to be okay with switching sides like that and like giving up a lot of your original culture or way of life, but at the end being like, well, I still lost, so I gotta play by these rules.
Hmm. But yeah, if I recall, what year does this movie take place?
It's like the 1870s.
So it's just after the Edo period or the Tokugawa period, and thus
Yeah, so this is
modernization,
supposed to be like,
industrialization.
are you familiar with the Boshin War?
No,
So this is supposed to be like post Boshin War and Meiji. I'm probably not saying it right, but Meiji Restoration. Because essentially what happened was post our American Civil War, or during in that time frame, American Civil War time frame, um, Japan had basically practiced isolationalism. God, that word's fucking hard. They they weren't allowing people to come in. Okay, so for a better part of
Sako-
200 years, they
Sa- Sakoku, I believe it's called, closed
yeah, so
country.
they were operating their country essentially in a vacuum for like 200 years. They weren't allowing outsiders in, and then America said, "Nah," because America's so cool like that.
Commodore Matthew Perry.
I actually have a. Oh, where the fuck is it? Hold on. Pause. Time out.
Pause.
So yes, Commodore Matthew Perry shows up with a fleet of uh, our ships and basically told Japan, "You will open up trade, or we'll just level you." Which I'm not sure if we could have actually accomplished that at that point, but the Japanese were of the opinion that we could. So that kicked off this essentially civil war, which is between the we got to advance our society and catch up with the rest of the world versus the people who are trying to stay more traditional. And that was known as the Boshin War, which is partially what this is about, and it's partially about the Meiji Restoration. And like Algren is this weird amalgamation of like an actual like French dude who was an advisor, but that that's about as much overlap there really is. But back to my Commodore Perry thing. I was at this junk variety store, and they had a bunch of like fake scrimshaw. Um, and because I don't have the budget for real scrimshaw, I was like, you know what? I'll buy the fake stuff because like real scrimshaw is like thousands of dollars. So I just grabbed one. But the scrimshaw that it is this fake whale's tooth, and it has a carving. I'm showing it to Jack now of Commodore Perry.
Dang, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I keep that on my bookshelf next to all my naval books.
Yeah, dude. I was really sad when I heard that Commodore Matthew Perry fell down that K hole and drowned in that hot tub.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm
He was,
sure Captain Sobel was also pretty sad about that.
yeah, he was easily the best part of Friends.
Eh,
Oh, what? You disagree? Huh?
I
But
personally
you,
was a Jennifer Aniston fan.
that's cheating, and you know it.
No, it's not.
All right, of the men, jackass.
Yeah, Perry was probably the best of the guy characters.
Okay, good. I thought you were a goddamn Ross fan. I was gonna have to end this friendship.
You know what's? Have you ever seen the thing where they do these edits of Friends episodes where they remove the laugh track from scenes with Ross in it, and he just comes across as like this fucking serial killer?
Yeah, fucking psychopath. And remember, like, without the laugh track, that's how other people in universe see him, which kind of makes a lot of the situations where people freak out on him a bit more believable,
Yeah.
huh? You ate my sandwich?
We were on a break. Uh, what did you think of the combat in this film?
Yeah, I did like the re- uh, expected realistic outcome of people in armor and swords charging a Gatling gun.
Yeah,
And that
they
and
didn't
that
really hold back.
the answer is a complete motherfucking disaster.
I really like that scene because one, the end battle scene, it's phenomenal in my eyes because this is in the time frame of, you know, the same time frame as like Troy and Alexander and these other epic films where Hollywood is making the transition to CGI, but for the most part, these massive battle scenes are still very extra, like extras dependent. So like the battles feel very real. So I appreciate it from that point. But aside from the realistic aspect of getting fucking owned by Gatling guns, um, I really like I love the metaphorical sense of that scene because if you think great picture, what is this film about? It's realistically it's essentially a Civil War film, but the two sides are fighting of traditional old lifestyle versus modernization and you know forward progress into westernization. So we're seeing like an actual manifestation of that concept in a fucking battle scene. And we see that the fucking modernization thing will always fucking win out, technically speaking.
Yeah, like that's su- that's always going to be such an interesting time frame for me. Like when we started adopting a more modern approach to warfare and not just men with sharp instruments killing the shit out of each other all the live long day, like actual powder weapons. Because
Poke, poke, poke.
I can never remember the name of it, but there was a decisive battle in Europe where one side was a bunch of conscripted and semi trained peasants with muskets, and the other side was men in medieval wear and weaponry. And medieval army just got mowed the fuck down by the muskets and cannons. And that was the battle where everyone in Europe collectively decided, hey, you know what? If the shoes fit, you dance in them. And that part, that's
I've never heard that saying, but that's a good saying.
if the, yeah, and just the thought of a knight or a samurai training his whole life and perfecting the art of the blade and just stealing himself, and then he just gets ganked by a fucking peasant with a gun that was handed it like 2 days ago.
Right. I think that was like that's another great scene that happens in this film, and it also goes to another great concept that this explores, which is lots of conflicts are derived from the fact that people are very resistant to change, especially when it means a
Yep.
change in their social or class status, which is a big reason why the samurai were against this whole modernization thing because with modernization, it really eliminated them as a higher strata within society.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point in history, the golden age of samurai was long over. And ever since the whole uniting the country thing, the demand for samurai started going down, and they started working more as, to put it bluntly, enforcers, criminals, bandits, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, more or less.
Some of them, yes,
But
did find gainful employment as soldiers, and others just said fuck it and became bureaucrats. Fun fact that they were the grandfathers of modern day salarymen in Japan.
like the scene that I'm thinking about, which is they bring Algren back after the winter, and they make this grand march parade into the city. And basically, it's a show of force. It's like, yeah, we're still samurai, we're still badass and all that. But then for some reason, they kind of like everybody splits off and does their own thing. And one of the samurai starts getting harassed by regular imperial army troops. And the thing is that like these soldiers come from all walks of life, like whether it's peasants or merchants, all the like they are not from the same social class that the samurai are. And they start harassing the samurai because there's now laws in place that are like you're not allowed to have swords and why you have your hair like this, that, and the other. And at first, like when I first saw this movie as a kid, and I watched it plenty of times, I really didn't appreciate or understand the scene because it's like, one, why are these guys being dicks? And two, like, okay, so they cut his hair, like, whoop de doo. But really, what that is that you have a bunch of people who originally started in a lower class, essentially getting to kick the teeth in of, it's almost like if 99% 1% movement went violent, if you will. Like we're seeing like the physical like this is Japanese Luigi moment.
And yeah, the kind of a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it?
Which
When
what when you take that look at it, it makes the scene infinitely more powerful because you're literally like you have these guys that are like, we do not give a flying fuck what kind of social class you think you are. Like your time is over. And like this guy is also having to deal with that ramification of being like, yeah, I'm a badass samurai, and in reality, I'm nothing now.
the future's now, old man. I wonder
Who would
what's
have
gonna.
thought we were going to talk about class warfare in a samurai movie?
I wonder what's gonna be the next technological jump that's gonna kill off the modern soldier.
Fucking AI.
Robots.
It's all over once we create Terminators.
Yeah. Killbots.
Which, by the way, have you heard about this new company? It's called Skynet. Sounds really innovative.
There is actually a Cyberdyne systems company that was founded in Japan in 2004. And yes, it is based off of the prototypical name for Skynet in the Terminator franchise.
Have we learned nothing?
Also,
Or are
I
we
don't know.
too wrapped up in our own hubris?
Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but in the first, was it this? It was the second term. Was it the second Terminator movie where he sinks in the molten steel? Or was
Oh,
that
is
the
that
first?
is that the one where he gives the like thumbs up?
Yeah, that one. No. I'm thinking about something else. Never mind.
No,
But
wait,
in
that
the
was like a disaster movie. Never mind.
but in the first movie, when he's crushed in that hydraulic press and he loses his arm in that factory, there's a very brief moment where you see the name of the factory and it's owned by Cyberdyne Systems. Self fulfilling prophecy.
Just goes I really don't want to go down the time travel angry rant again.
Never involve time travel in a story you care about.
Time
And if you
travel is bullshit.
and if you do, you better make sure you pull it off. I'm still I still hate Infinity Wars time travel rules. I just thought it was dumb.
That's because in time travel, nothing matters.
Yeah, they like really hand wave it. Like, aren't we changing the past or aren't we changing the future by doing this? And then it's like, no, because, and then it's just some bullshit reasoning I can't even remember. Because Mapim particles.
The only time travel story I legitimately am okay with or enjoy or don't think is too terribly stupid is Stephen King's 11/22/63.
Never even heard of it.
So Stephen King writes a story about a guy who finds this like wormhole that transports him to one specific day and time in like 1959. And so he comes up with this idea that's like, what if I stop the Kennedy assassination? So he has like a 3 year lead time on it, essentially.
Huh.
But the thing is, it's like every time he goes through this wormhole, it resets. So like if he goes back, does something, comes back to the future, like whatever changes he made happens. But the second he goes through the wormhole again to go back to 1959, everything just resets. So whatever he did in the last trip just doesn't exist anymore,
Okay.
which I found to be an interesting plot device. But
See,
like
I thought you were
the other part of it is that like the past is almost sentient, if you will, and is like aware of outsiders. So like if you try to change something in the past, like weird things will start happening to you to impede your progress to change said past.
mm,
So like it doesn't care if you drink the past doesn't care if you drink a soda because that's a negligible change to the past. Like you drinking a soda is not going to deprive someone else of a soda or will not change human events by drinking a soda. But if you try and kill somebody in the past, then the past will try to stop you from doing that.
okay. So minuscule changes, whatever. But big changes are a no-no because there's
Correct.
but I think my favorite time travel story is still Back to the Future, but that's just me.
Is it because of the mom loving?
Yes. Calvin Klein. Oh, look at you with your fancy little comb.
It's not even a comb, it's a like a hair chopstick thing.
Ah, fuck you. On that note, what are you drinking tonight?
I had two beverages this evening. Um, I started off, I just wanted to go a little light, so I just had like a small glass of, I figured it'd be appropriate, seeing as our main character was alcoholic and his drink of choice was sake. So I had myself, the brand is called Drunken Whale Sake.
Oh, that sounds like the good stuff.
Oh, it is pretty good.
Gotta try that sometime.
And it's fun because like the label is literally a whale like burping bubbles. And then I followed it up with a Taco Bell's new drink. It's called the Dirty Baja Blast.
Ooh, the dirty Baja Blast.
It's just Baja Blast with a pump of vanilla like syrup in it. But the combination of the syrup with the Baja Blast makes it taste like an orange creamsicle.
Ooh. But I had a Miller Lite earlier, but now I'm having a Kona Longboard. Two traditional Japanese beers.
Yes. Very traditional. I'm surprised you didn't grab yourself a big can of Sapporo from the
You know,
one
I was
sushi
gonna
place in Pier.
I was gonna mention that I really should have done that, but I was kind of crunched for time today, being as I had help with dinner, a dinner that I didn't even get to eat till later, and because I had to go to play practice, that took a long time.
You
And
were in your local kabuki production.
yes, you gaijin, you baka gaijin,
I think that's an underrated scene in this movie is the kabuki scene,
the political kabuki theater. And then everything went wrong.
and then the ninjas
And then
attacked.
the ninjas attacked.
That was probably the stupidest fucking part of this movie.
They're like
As
fucking
like
popping out of walls and
this fucking movie was awesome, and like there's great combat, there's so many great things, but then just random fucking ninja attack, like really motherfuckers. God fucking forbid we just do straight up samurai, but whatever.
but also preview night for my plays tomorrow night.
What
So
play are you doing?
it's called the Spitfire Grill. Ever heard of it? I'd be
No.
surprised if you had. It's a play based on a 90s TV movie. So, my part, I play a homeless Vietnam veteran, and I have no lines and no singing, and I'm on stage like 6 times.
No singing.
Nope, no lines either. It's great. It's
What a
chill.
what a fucking ripoff.
You don't want to hear me sing anyway.
I think you have a wonderful singing voice. In fact,
Don't
let's
fucking
start
lie to me.
singing. It's been a while since I can say.
It's been a while.
I want you to know that I left that in the last episode.
It's been a while. Man,
It's been a while.
the acoustic version of that song is so much better than the original.
Yeah.
So much better.
It's too bad Aaron Lewis like turned into this massive douche.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that.
Oh, you haven't. Oh, I've got the homework assignment for you.
Is it bad?
Dude, he has. This dude, Aaron Lewis, I don't know, like, if he was originally a cool guy, but, like, in the last couple of years, he's, like, really amped up the, like, douche factor. Like, so much so that, like, the rock community, like, actively makes fun of him for it. So I'll send you some clips.
Gotcha. Man, by Stained, dumbasses forgot the E.
So, what in this film would you change, or what in this film would make it a better film for you? Because
Well,
I'm getting the vibe that this is not a five whatever object film for you.
I would recast Tom Cruise, but that's just my bias against him speaking.
Uh,
I don't think he did terrible. But maybe I would shift away from the whole subplot with Adler and just make it a period piece, focusing on this time period. But
you mean Algren?
you know what I say?
You said Adler.
Yeah, him,
Like, how do you watch a 3-hour movie and not remember the main character's name?
because it's Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay, fair.
I don't know. I think I would just do away with the Algren. Am I saying the right Algren? Whatever.
Yeah.
The Nathan subplot.
Would you prefer this to just be just do this from the perspective of Katsumoto?
Yeah, I think he's a more interesting character, personally.
I can get behind that and I dig it, but I also think there's something to be said like when they do the multiple like limited conversations between him and Algren, like there's still a little bit of like an air of mystery to him, which I kind of like. But I could definitely be on board with just a Katsumoto forward film.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it is about time we rate this thing.
Right. So, what's the object you want to rate this?
It's actually kind of hard because there's not like any real standout object in this film. I
Sword,
guess
sword spears.
sword spears to the chest.
Sword spears. Um, I give this, let's say, about 3 sword spears out of 5.
Ooh, 3.
What, you weren't expecting that?
I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't expecting you to give it a 5, but I was hoping for something a little higher. Why the middle of the road rating?
I don't know. You gave me that whole thesis on why it's not Dances with Weaves, but I just can't shake that feeling. It has a similar plot structure to those movies, and just a hint of white savior, but not completely. But like I said,
Okay.
I would
I
just
mean,
prefer.
fair. I mean, I could definitely see, like I said, I am coming from a place of bias of really liking this film, which is why I really went to bat to defend it. If I didn't have the attachment that I did with the film, I could definitely get on board from with your viewpoint, I think.
So, what's your rating for Sword Spears?
Fucking 5 out of 5 sword spears to the chest
I respect that.
and one horse nut.
In one horse. Mm. Want to rephrase that, cowboy, or are you just rolling with it?
One horse hoof to the nut.
Very okay. That's better. Anyway, so the tomometer is 66%, but
Oh, get
but
fucked,
but
thermometer.
but but the popcorn meter is 83%.
Uh,
So
I still
audiences were
think it should be
much,
higher. Uh, I
audiences were more forgiving.
I have to put my bias aside. Like I said, I love this film, and it is probably in my top 10 war movie film. Which I think we should do a bonus reel of our top, like each of our own top 5 or top 10, or maybe like once we do our 100th movie review, we should do like a discussion of what our top 5 movies that we've reviewed so far have been.
Man, that's damn, I need to think about that.
Number 5, Ernest in the Army. Number 4, Kung Fury.
Kung Fury, hell yeah. Number 1, Tenet.
Get fucked.
uh, but also Ken Watanabe was
A tour de
the
force.
he was nominated for best supporting actor for this, and he got snubbed for it. I don't remember who won, but I need to check this out.
Let's see. I'm
I
going
was
to pull the
just
list
looking
up.
at this page too.
It also got nominated for best costume design, which, yeah, I can see that. Let's see.
Dave Boyle or Tim Robbins won it for Mystic River. I've never even seen Mystic River.
I've never even heard of that movie.
Directed by Clint Eastwood.
Oh, well, if our darling Clint Eastwood does it. So, yeah, it was nominated for a ton of stuff, but it didn't win anything. Best sound mixing, costume design, art direction, supporting actor. Who did
Yeah.
it who did it lose to? Well, it doesn't matter, it lost everything. I love that in The Last Samurai there is a Are you familiar with the composer Hans Zimmer?
Am I familiar with him? Hell yeah, I am.
So you know he's done a shitload of movies. Anyways, there's a tab in Wikipedia that says where The Last Samurai is in the Hans Zimmer chronology.
Chronology.
So Hans Zimmer, in the same year he did The Last Samurai score, also did Matchstick Men and King Arthur.
Ooh.
We should do King Arthur sometime.
Yeah, we should. Is it on the list?
I'm pretty sure it is. Clive Owen, Keira Knightley, Stellan Skarsgård, one of the lesser known Skarsgårds.
Stellan.
Stellan.
I feel like I just watched something with him in it recently.
What's that?
Oh yeah, I did. He was in Chernobyl, and he was in the new Dune movies.
Cheeseburger. Oh, that's who it is. He was also in Thor.
Was he?
Yeah,
Who was he in Thor?
he was the one of the scientist dudes.
Oh, okay.
He plays Dr. Eric Selvig in 5 MCU films.
Yeah, and he was the asshole in Chernobyl that was like 3.6 Röntgen. I'm told that's a chest X-ray. Ah, ha, ha, ha. But then he comes around.
Yeah, it's only 3.6 because that's what the meter maxes out at.
Also, our dear listeners, I've been watching that recently, and I highly recommend it. I know I'm 5 years behind on this, but still.
Everybody takes their time. It also makes me think we should do K-19 sometime because that's another fun radiation poisoning film.
The K-19, I hear a bunch of teenagers died on that mountain, you see. It's an old Indian burial ground.
There's nothing up there you want, Mosh.
I know what you're thinking, Stotch. Don't do it. Don't bury a son in the old pet cemetery by the old Walmart. See, it's down the road there on the left. You can't miss it. Don't do
Nothing
it.
good will come of it. I don't know. It's the Monkey's Fist war movie?
I don't know what it is, but I'm going to say yes.
Or the Monkey's Paw?
Yes.
That's what I meant.
I have a very loose definition of war films.
War with the supernatural.
Yeah, see? I mean, you could take it a step further and say all conflict is war in some capacity, which, name a movie without conflict.
Give me a minute.
I was going to say Dazed and Confused, but then I remembered Ben Affleck's character running around beating those kids up.
Give me another minute.
All right.
Movie without conflict. That's literally the central point to every movie.
Like I said, Dazed and Confused comes close.
Oh no, I'm on Reddit. It says Dazed and Confused doesn't have conflict in it.
Emily. Remember my cousin watching
There is
that for
literally
film class?
no film without conflict, is there?
10 Things I Hate About You.
There's definitely fucking conflict in that movie. God, this is an interesting. I'm going to have to come back to the next episode after I've taken weeks to think about this.
Yeah, a war movie with no conflict.
No, just any movie without any conflict.
Right. So is it my pick for next week?
We have a guest coming up, but yes, after that you can have a pick. So what do you want after our next guest is on?
I'm glad you asked, my compatriot.
I don't like it when you say it that way.
I'm glad you asked, my heterosexual life partner. Um,
Not what I meant.
I can make it worse. Yeah, that's what I
No, when you
thought.
say I'm glad you asked, it makes me think you're going to treat me to some horse shit.
I'm glad you asked, my stunningly beautiful co-host. My movie that I picked for my turn is drumroll, please. Thank you. My pick is Casablanca.
Okay.
Bet you weren't.
Was
Bet you
not
weren't.
expect I was not expecting that,
I
but
was gonna say. I bet you didn't see that coming, did you, smartass?
no, I didn't.
Well,
I was not expecting like a pinnacle of cinema choice from you.
well, you see, the reason I pick it is A, because I haven't actually seen it, and B, the Hayes play this year, my hometown. My uncle is directing it this year, and he's a great director. And the play that they're doing is a parody of Casablanca, and they're headhunting me for the lead role. The
Oh,
Humphrey
I
Bo-
can't wait to
the
hear
hum-
you practice your transatlantic accent.
the Humphrey Bogart character. My character apparently chain smokes and says "damn" a lot.
Frankly, my darling, I don't give a damn.
The damely into my dame office. God, her tits were amazing. Oh shit! Did I say that out loud again?
And canceled.
But no, it's a cornerstone of film. It's been parodied to here and back, where even if you haven't seen the movie, you've definitely seen parodies of it or haven't heard it
Yeah, there's
referenced.
no way you haven't seen some iteration of a scene from it.
Fucking Fairly Odd Parents parodied it. Then that's a deep cut for whose intended audience is 10-year-olds.
No, I'm actually quite excited for this.
Well, I'm glad. You were expecting me to pick like fucking Captain Alex, weren't you?
Yes, or Sergeant Stubby.
Okay, first off, I would pick those two, but third off, where's I going with this? Whatever. But I'm excited for Casablanca too. I expect
Electric
nothing.
Boogaloo.
Electric Casablanca too. This time it's personal.
This time the dame stays.
Casablanca 2. Play it again, Sam. And yes, I know that isn't actually said on that throughout the film, but whatever. But yeah. Anything else to add?
Um, I will forgo saying who our guest is next week just because we do currently still have it scheduled, but as we know, things
Best
pop
laid
up and
plans.
whatnot. So I'm hesitant to mention it until we've actually done a recording. But it is a guest I am excited to uh, do a chat with, and they also have an interesting film choice. It's a movie that I don't think we would have gone around to for a very long time without a guest choosing it. But it is on our list.
What movie?
They want Courage Under Fire.
Courage Under Fire, you say?
Has Denzel Washington, Matt Damon, and Lou Diamond Phillip.
Wait, is this that? No.
It's a Gulf War film.
Wait. Oh, I remember watching a bit of this a long fucking time ago, like 20
It
years ago.
it kind of had like a little bit of a TV movie circuit that it made in the 2000s.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that scene.
But I'm looking forward to that conversation. Hopefully everything works out. And if we're not if our listeners at home do not hear Courage Under Fire next week, then they should be listening to Casablanca. So Win-win.
Win-win.
Do you have anything else, Jack?
I donut.
Alrighty. Well, if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. The stars do matter. If you want additional content from us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, TikTok, all those good places. Until next time, I have been. I was going to say something stupid. I've just been John,
And I'm Jack.
the last Jackarai.
The last Jackarai.
We are not weebs, and we'll see you later.
Bye.